What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Leveled Up Life podcast. It's Branamier, Courtney in the studio with Paul McClain.
My man.
Ashley Bonk on the ones and twos. Man, we're so thankful that you're tuning in with us today. You know our heart and our desire is to help you level up in all the areas of your life that matters the most, whether it's your faith, family, fitness, finance, and franchise. We've been saying this for 101 episodes now. The same thing, man. We're trying to help people get to the next level in their life. And so we certainly don't have it all figured out, but man, God has been gracious to us, and we've been 30. I'm 37. Paul, you're 38, bro. We've been through some things. Between us, we got basically a football team of kids and a couple businesses, a ministry, amazing families. Certainly not perfect, but man, God has got us through some storms and some trials. So we're doing our best to give you some wisdom and some encouragement to get through whatever is in front of you right now. And so, Paul, glad to be here with you, bro.
Hey, good to be with you, my man. And
you look good, bro.
I appreciate that, dude. I get ready for you, dude.
Yeah.
Little Palm Springs.
Yeah, I like it.
Well, I'll tell you guys this much, man. Like the 101 episode is going to be the best episode. So just share this and make sure you subscribe, get this in front of people. And what we're really going to talk about today, I think is something that when you hear it, you're like, oh, that's the most important thing that I should be focused on. Yeah. Yet for myself and for most, you just don't think about it because you get so busy in the day-to-day. There's so much distraction. There's so much to accomplish. I mean, and the one thing I know as I get older, I get more things that I have to manage. I have to steward. You know, you go from one kid to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5. You got different sports
systems.
I mean, it becomes a lot, and then it's like oftentimes you're just trying to get through each day and accomplish all that's before you. But this is really, I think, a topic that will help center priorities and really kind of help realign your focus and where you put most your energy and effort. Yeah. And it's really I love what you said, start with the beginning in mind. And so we're going to talk about legacy, and we're going to talk about what that looks like and how to best equip you to live in a way where you leave a lasting legacy, because that outlives you, right? You only live for such a period of time, but then there's a lot of things that will live past you, and are those things that are going to provide fruit, benefits, where your family's better, where you change generations. And so we're going to talk about today, man, and I'm excited. We got 3 points.
Yeah, I love a couple different thoughts regarding legacy. Pastor Derek Fry, when we had him on here, he said something that stuck with me. He said there's no success without succession. Right. And I just think that, man, anyone who's out there trying to start something, because the truth is, man, this is the age of starting. Everyone's starting something. Everyone has a side hustle. Everyone has something going on. If you don't, you should. Why not? There's so much time in the day, so much resource available. We were just talking about AI and what that can do for us. And if you haven't checked out the last podcast, go check out, or 2 podcasts ago with Daniel Kim. But man, I think everyone should start something on the side, whether it's for them, for their kids, for their family. Just do something. But the truth is, man, it's kind of easy to start. But most people aren't starting that thing thinking about how they're going to pass that thing on. And I think when you can, what you just referenced, if you can begin whatever it is with the end of that thing in mind, I think you'll begin to live different, look at it different, make decisions different. And we're not just living for that weekend or for that Friday or for the next, check that comes in, man. We're thinking way beyond that. And I think it's certainly okay when you're younger, to have the mentality life lives forever. I think that's just natural, right? But as you get older, like you said, you got not just 1 kid, but 5 kids. And now you're like, man, this is going by way too fast. How can I begin to think about whatever I'm doing in the thing that God's given me to steward, whether it's a business or a ministry or simply just a family? How could I pass down everything that I've learned so the gift doesn't just live with me, but it gets passed down to them? Yeah. And so,
well, to talk about this, because you unpacked this at men's service a couple weeks back, and man, it was powerful, and really kind of giving some practical handles of how do I start or begin with the end in mind. Yeah, you talked about how you have the privilege and honor to be able to step in and host a lot of funerals. Yeah, and I think that's a great kind of picture to go to in each person's mind of okay, I'm at my funeral. Right. Yeah. And you're watching it take place, because, by the way, you probably will be you could be looking down and seeing what's taking place. Yeah. And the hope is that you're sitting at, in the presence of God, right, in the glory of God. And so, but you started with that story, and I think it really set the stage to how important it is, and also to kind of really do that ultimately with the end in mind, which is you're at your funeral.
Well, I think number one, it's kind of morbid, but it's a reality for all of us, right? And so I've been to enough funerals now where you can tell the difference between just platitudes and like real authentic, like this is who that person was. And I jokingly said, like, I've never been to a funeral where someone got up there and was like, man, let's be honest, guys, this guy was just terrible. Like, no one really liked him. That's why there's 8 of us here. Like, just bad dude. Like, let's just get this day. Like, that doesn't happen. Everyone gets up there and say, hey, this person, did X, Y, and Z. And everyone speaks kindly and graciously of the person. But I challenged us and I said, what do we want our friends and family to say from a real, genuine, authentic place? Like, what language do we want spoken? What feel do we want? What characteristics and qualities do we want them to describe us with that comes from a real genuine place? And so it's kind of morbid to think about, but I think when you can almost start there. So just to get real practical, like start with the end goal. Yeah. It's like, if that's the end goal, I want to leave a legacy for the people that, I had influence and impact in their life. Then what do I want them to say about me? Well, you got to begin to ask these kind of hard questions. Like, well, do I want to leave a legacy of peace, of generosity, of kindness, of whatever it is, fill in the blank? Then you got to be that way now. Yeah. And so some hard questions that maybe you should ask yourself is like, does my schedule reflect like what matters the most to me in my life? And so if I say I want to be a kind person that loves people, that has a heart to serve the community, and I don't do that now, well, then that's certainly not going to be said at the end of my life. Yeah. It might be said, but it's not genuine, right? So am I building something that doesn't just give me money, but it gives me memories, right? Am I building something that doesn't just benefit my lifestyle, but actually benefits my legacy? So these are 2 different ways to think about life, because lifestyle, you get a commission check. It's like, oh, I'm going to buy a new car. I'm going to upgrade my lifestyle. That's great. Feels good. Temporary, right? You got the dopamine hit, but does that benefit your legacy? Probably not. You could have took that money and put it in an apartment complex. You could have took that money and give it to a charity. You could have took that money and did many things with it. And so I think there's a tension between both, right? Because we're not saying just put off everything to the end so the next generation gets all the benefit. No, certainly not. But there's definitely a conversation that needs to be had regarding, what's right now and what's yet to come, and finding that sweet spot in there between living the life to your fullest now and also having enough in reserve to bless the next generation.
Yeah, so that's great, dude. I mean, I think, so point 1 for all those note takers, and we've got an audience of note takers. I just know that you guys are studious. You're taking notes, you're making notes. But point 1 is legacy is built through identity, not achievement. Yeah. And Brand, that's exactly what you're talking about. Like, they're not going to at your funeral talk about all the successes you had. Yeah. They're going to talk about the significance you made, right? And success is like the stuff you acquire, the business you start, but really what you want them talking about, right, is like the impact you had on their life, and that's significance, right? Certainly. And I love when the scripture says, first seek the kingdom of God and all these other things will be added. Well, the kingdom of God is a kingdom of significance. Right. It's serving people, it's loving people, it's equipping people, it's empowering people. Well, how do you best do that? Well, you become somebody bigger and better each and every day, right? You start to develop and grow. And so, the one thing that I know that I struggle with is chasing accomplishments, right? Yeah. Like just going out there and wanting to win, wanting to be effective, wanting to grow. And sometimes what I realize is like, man, if I just focus on who am I becoming, all the other things just kind of get added to it. Yep. And so it's like, who am I becoming? Because that's what's going to be leaving the significance. That's going to leave the mark. That's going to make the impact and the difference in the people that you love and that you're called to really kind of help raise up, right? That's good. So I think the first step is like, all right, is most of my schedule, is it focused on doing things that bring me success, or is it focused on things that help me become the kind of person that can become more significant? Very good. And so what does that look like? Well, it's character development, right? It's identity. It's having the right habits that lead to the right character. And so some of those habits might be like intentionally spending some time with God early in the morning. Mm-hmm. I had a conversation with an agent actually the other day, and he reached out. He said, Paul, like, you've helped me quite a bit in business, but he's like, can I kind of just shift this and get 30 minutes once a week and just talk to me about my faith? And I was like, bro, I'd love to. Yeah, that's cool. And so, and he's a young guy, 20 years old, absolutely crushing it. He's like, man, I just really want to develop this relationship with God. And he's like, when should I pray? Like, when should I read the word? I said, well, man, you go back to the word, and Jesus' life is a great example of how we should live. Like, right? He's the ultimate example. What did he do? Early in the morning, he went and spent time with the Father. And so I said, having some time early in the morning before the noise and the fray and all the minutiae, all this kind of stuff gets thrown at you, just to spend some time and see, like, the one thing that I would love my kids to say is that, man, my dad, when I got up in the morning, he was always in that theater room. He was always worshiping. He was always praying. He was always reading his word. Like, that leaves a legacy, because that's, for one, going to build me the right kind of character.
For sure.
I'm going to be able to better deny my flesh, and I'm going to be able to walk more in alignment with Christ. And so I think the ultimate goal to leave a big impact in my mind is, like, am I becoming more Christ-like every day?
Amen.
Because who made the greatest impact?
Yeah, Jesus.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I mean, those couple years, like significant impact. And so, how do I become more like Christ? Well, I gotta spend more time, more quality time with Christ. I gotta be in the Word. I gotta be in prayer. And so, what habits are you doing that are going to build your character? Because ultimately, that character is going to form the culture, not just in your family, but in all the spaces and places you go to, your work environment. You know, if it's extracurricular activities, hobbies, whatever it is, you've got different groups and circles of people.
Yeah, it's so good.
Like, how do you impact them, right? Where at your funeral, you know, they say things like, man, that person changed my life.
Yeah.
Man, they spoke life into me. Man, when I was going through a hard time, they kind of grabbed my hand, they held me up. You know, those kind of things is like, that's what's going to be talked about.
100%.
Not the business you built, not the money you made. Like, that's not going to be spoken about.
Well, ultimately, like, legacy is left in relationships, right? So, like, if everything we built, including the ministry, including the business, including the houses or whatever, is gone in a day, does your life still present value to those around you?
Yeah.
It should be, absolutely, yeah, because my value wasn't not in the thing that I could provide for them. My value is what's been instilled in me that I passed down to them, right? And so the second thought or point, if you're taking notes, is legacy is what you transfer, not what you accumulate. And so it's certainly not bad to accumulate. Like, stuff is good.
Yeah.
You know, stuff could bless you, certainly. But it's never about the stuff. I love that example of that young man, like, reaching out to you and saying, like, Paul, I appreciate the business. And, like, I get value there, certainly, but I'm seeing beyond just the material. I'm seeing beyond just what you can do for me in one sense. I realize that real success is found in a foundation of faith, and everything else is built upon that. Yeah. And I think so many people miss identity. And so, because they don't have a foundation of who they are and the value that they actually could possess if they knew who they were, they begin to place their value in all the other things, only to find themselves empty when they get the thing they thought was going to bring fulfillment, and it doesn't actually fulfill, right? And so I think that 30 minutes will probably make more of an impact in that guy's life than any podcast, any sales training, any conference. Like, that done consistently will change, hopefully, his future generations to come. And so when we're talking about legacy, we're talking about relationships. Yeah. And so I love the example of you going down in the theater room and just spending quality time in there. Well, the truth is, number one, your kids will see you in there, and they're going to know my dad's down there spending time with the Lord. But even if they didn't see you do that, because everyone might not have a theater room, right? Like I said in my counter. So shout out to all the guys with theater rooms. God bless you, bro. I'm working my way there. But, like, even if they didn't see that necessarily, what they would feel is the difference in your identity and how you parent, how you love, how you bless, how you serve, how you honor. Why? Because you've been filled up getting your identity right to then bless them. And so I just want to, like, encourage everyone on here. And I certainly would echo Paul's statements, like, man, wake up early enough in the morning where you could spend an hour or two by yourself getting your mind right, getting your body right, just getting the mental side of life prepared so you can go then bless the people that God's called you to bless. But even if you can't, like, just figure out some time in your day to just have quiet time and get in the Word and be reminded, or, you know, open up the Bible, turn on worship, whatever it is. Because why? You're trying to leave a legacy. You're trying not to just bless you. You're not trying to just make it through the week. You're not trying to just survive life. You're trying to thrive in this life. And part of thriving is blessing the next generation. I think about David in the Bible. Like, so many people think about David killing Goliath, and that's kind of most of what they know. But towards the end of his life, God told him no regarding the desires of his heart. He wanted to build a temple for God, but God was like, no, you got too many battles, too many wars, too much blood on your hands. And so David doesn't take that as like, oh, God doesn't love me anymore. He's like, no, God's been so good to me, and he's told me no in this aspect. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to set up my son to carry on the legacy. And he begins to fundraise and give money towards Solomon, his son, to build a temple. And I think about that for us as we get older, man, what are we passing down to the next generation? God has a clear assignment for us, but maybe there's some things that's in our heart that we want to do, but it's not for us to do. And so if we're stewarding the thing that God's given us to steward the right way, maybe it won't be us that builds the massive business. Maybe it won't be us that reaches the entire desert with the ministry. Maybe it will be our kids, and we're simply laying a foundation for them to stand on.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's just perspective. It's just getting your mind right and your identity and who you're actually called to be. So,
dude, you said something at men's service that I thought was so great, and I've been using it, and everybody thought I was brilliant this last week on Zooms. But you said, like, you can't pass on what you don't possess.
Yeah.
Right. You got to possess it first. And I think if we're looking at kind of like a flow of this, like first one is to become more valuable so you can give more value.
Yeah.
Right. And so you got to develop, a possession so you can pass it on. And an inheritance, you said, was something that you leave behind. It's what you leave behind when you pass. Mm-hmm. A legacy is what you leave in somebody
right.
when you pass away. Right. Or when you're done with that relationship or what have you. And so I just really think that, like, when you break this down, like, let's give some handles to it. Like, even with the kids, right? Like, a goal that I've got as a leader is I want to be able to see more in somebody than they might see. Yeah. And then highlight that and then speak belief into that so repeatedly, so often, so frequently that they eventually start to see that in themselves as well. Yeah. And that's legacy, right? Certainly. Like, if I can continue, to be disciplined with the notes with my kids every week and at night just saying, hey, let me just tell you about what I think about you, right? Like Parker last time was like, hey, sweetheart, I said, I know, and she's 13, so I got to frame it the right way. It's like, hey, I know you probably are going to be like, what, Dad, stop it, or you don't want to hear it. But I said, let me just can you give me 10 seconds to say something to you? She's like, what, Dad? And I was like, sweetheart, you've got such a joy on you. You the way you serve and how you've been serving lately, it's just like, I notice it. God noticed it. It honors him. It makes me feel super proud of you. And I just kind of wanted to go in on it because I kind of saw the door that was there. But like, that's the kind of little stuff that is so simple, right? And we could be so focused on an inheritance to leave and spend all our time there. But like 30 seconds, you could leave a significant legacy because now she has a whole different perspective. There's this story of this guy, I think his doctor, Josh, and he said when he was a kid, one of his teachers brought him in and said, hey, let me talk to you. What do you want to be when you grow up? He's like, I want to be a doctor. She's like, and she laughs. She's like, you failed the test, and you've got a D in my class. Like, you're never going to be a doctor. Like, my daughter barely squeaked in, to med school, and she had a 3.75. Like, you're never going to be a doctor. And then he said shortly after that, so he left just completely defeated. His mom takes him to the doctor. Doctor's like, you have ADHD, you got a learning disability. So he's like, now I'm going, through my life thinking I got a learning disability and I ain't smart and I'm never going to be a doctor. And he's like, I wanted to be a doctor. There was a big purpose behind it because my mom had cancer and I watched her lose her hair and I watched her go through all the chemotherapy. And I just felt like, man, I wanted to do something about this. And he said, fast forward, like years and years go by. And he decides, like, you know what? He barely gets out of high school. He's like, I'm going to go to college because I got nothing else to do. Sneaks in, like, this kind of like, interim kind of college. And they say, if you get a decent grade, you can take it to the next level. So he goes in, takes his test, comes in. Teacher's like, hey, I need to talk to you. He's like, oh, God, again, right? I'm getting ready to get abused. And she says, listen, you had, out of 42 students, the best test out of anybody in the entire class. She's like, well, I just want to tell you, like, I think you'd be a phenomenal journalist. Like, you really have it. And he said instantly what he did was he changed out the old memory with a new memory, and that memory changed the trajectory of his entire life. And so I kind of thought about that as I was listening. It's like, man, like, if we could just step in and give somebody a new memory about themselves, because any interaction that we've got, we don't know, like, what they're dealing with. Even with our kids, like, I don't know what the teacher is saying to my kids. I don't know what this other kid in the classroom is saying about my kids. But I do know that I have the ability to control what I can control, which is what I say about my kids. Good. And so just kind of, it made me realize, like, man, how many people their trajectory of their life is being charted by somebody else's voice. And see, like, death and life in the power of our tongue. Like, our tongue leaves a legacy, right? Good. Not just for our kids, but even the people I work with in business. I don't know what Bassam went through when he was. I don't know. Right. But like, what I do know is, like, I got to stop highlighting maybe a behavior that's tied to a false identity. Right. because if I switch the memory of that, then all of a sudden the behavior starts to change,
good. Well, dude, number one, I hope people didn't miss the psychology of the sale there. We're talking to Parker because there was some massive gold in that statement. I think that number one, just understanding who you're talking to and framing the conversation the right way will get you very far. That's a different subject for a different day, but I don't want people to miss it. But number two, you're exactly right, because we're not just simply talking about leaving an inheritance. The Bible says a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. So it's a good thing to leave an inheritance. That's stuff, right? That's what you could pass down almost like on this side of heaven, the things that we possess. That's a good thing, the Bible says. But we're talking about leaving a legacy. A legacy is what you leave in them. And I think that's what you're talking about with Parker. That's what this teacher did with this young man. Is like, hey, I want to leave something in you so you could face anything that comes your way. It doesn't matter what the outside circumstances look like. It doesn't matter if you have what culture calls successful, because I've left a legacy in you. You could survive and thrive in any atmosphere, in any city, in any culture, in any environment, with any temptation. Why? Because dad's or boss or friend has left a deposit far greater than any amount of money can leave in you. And so that's kind of the third thought. We'll wrap it up here. Is legacy requires intentional multiplication. Like, it doesn't just happen by accident. You don't just fall into like a fruitful legacy. You don't look at, whoever you think is successful. Certainly we could find families and identify tons of them within culture that could say, oh, this family left a legacy of banking or, the railroad, or you could find these massively successful families. But I think just beyond material, like what kind of legacy do you want to live just beyond the stuff that you can leave? And I think that oftentimes who you are is shown up in your kids, right? And so I want people to look at my kids. Now, you might catch them on a bad day because they're, 4, 6, 10, and 12. So don't judge me yet. But at the end of my life, I certainly hope that you could look at my kids. I pray that I can be a son to my father and my mom and say, hey, because of what they instilled in me, I'm now good fruit, leaving a legacy for them, and so on and so forth. And so hope this encourages people out there today. Yeah. What a great conversation.
So good, dude. I mean, I think as we wrap up, like that intentionality, it takes work. Like, that's the thing of like, okay, it's simple, but it's not easy because it takes work.
Yeah.
And one thing that I think might help that it's kind of helped me kind of be more intentional, because I can find myself just having the conversation because that's what I'm in right now is a conversation, but not really thinking like, what's the chief objective here? Like, what's the biggest thing I can accomplish that'll make the greatest impact? And just that one question you ask yourself will produce higher level thoughts, right? Because like the questions you ask others, it produces thoughts from them. But oftentimes we forget, man, the questions we ask ourselves also is an easy way for us to elevate our thinking.
Yeah, that's good.
And so now, instead of being by default just kind of talking to whoever I bump into, saying, I'm going to talk to this person today. What's the biggest thing I can say that will leave the greatest impact for them? Like, what's the chief objective? And now all of a sudden my thoughts go to that. I hyper focus on that. And now that conversation is going to leave an impact, right? And the conversation now matters. And so just a quick question you could ask yourself throughout this week could shift and change the way that everything takes place, as far as, is it just, kind of whatever, benign, neutral, nothing really beneficial? Or is it something that, okay, that conversation mattered? I think it made an impact for that person. And
well, you're right. Number one, it takes a ton of work and intentionality and thought and time and like preparing for the day rather than reacting to the day. You're being proactive. And so I guess just to tie it all together, like you look at the life of Jesus, he didn't just, give speeches everywhere he went. He didn't just perform. He didn't just do stuff, although he did a lot of stuff. He also was being an example of how we're supposed to live.
Yeah.
And so he wasn't necessarily doing it by himself. He had, the 12 disciples with him. And so he was not just telling them what to do or telling them what to believe. He was demonstrating how to actually do it in real life. And I think whoever God's called you to shepherd, whether it's a business, an office, a ministry, a family, like it's got to be more than just words at some point. And I think that's kind of what we're laying down here. It's like, man, we want to live the life that we aspire for those following us to live as well. And so it's about being and not just saying. So
good, man. Well, I think this has been another great conversation. Definitely good for me. That's going to help me be better for the rest of my day because of it. And just remember that, like, even for the parents out there, like if you're a dad, like, be a father. A dad is just what you get the title of for engaging in a very fun activity, right?
Baby dad.
That's what you get. And then a lot of times with that dad is like, it's like this role of like, oh, I just am supposed to provide.
Yeah.
No. Father is mentorship. Father is discipleship. It's really kind of teaching them exactly like what characteristics, what thought process, what belief systems should you hold on to. And so if we all could just be better fathers and mothers and not just dads and moms, right, it'll make a massive impact. And so guys, I love you. Make this a great week. Be strong, stay steadfast, and we'll talk to you next week. God bless you guys.